Maya sat behind the counter of Mary's Diner, a small, unassuming restaurant nestled in the heart of a sleepy town. At 28, she had lived a life of quiet routine for as long as she could remember. Every day was the same. Wake up early, rush to work, serve the regulars with a smile, scrub the floors, clear the dishes, repeat. She had become part of the background in the diner, just another face behind the counter, invisible in a town where everyone knew each other. But few noticed the waitress who had been there for years. Maya's life hadn't always been like this. 10 years ago, when she was just 18, she had left her small hometown in search of something bigger. Her family, wealthy and powerful, had their own plans for her. They wanted her to attend an Ivy League school, to follow in the footsteps of her brothers who had already secured their places in high-paying careers. But Maya had chosen a different path, one that involved staying behind, working at a local diner, and living a life of independence. Her family had disowned her for it. They saw her decision as a failure, a rejection of their dreams for her. Her father, a successful banker, had looked at her with disappointment in his eyes. Her mother had barely said goodbye. They never called, never checked in. Maya was alone in the town she had once tried to escape, and although she had told herself time and time again that she was content, she knew deep down that she was trapped in a life that had never been her own. Still, she carried on. Maya had settled into a routine of working at the diner, serving coffee and pie to the townspeople, and cleaning up after long shifts. It was never glamorous, but it was her life, and she had come to accept that she would never be anything more than a waitress. There were days when she caught glimpses of her old self, the one who had once dreamed big, but those thoughts were fleeting. The truth was, Maya felt like a ghost in the town, invisible, forgotten. But everything changed one afternoon when the famous chef, Julian Thompson, the executive chef of a high-end restaurant in the city, unexpectedly walked into the diner. Maya was in the middle of wiping down the counter when she looked up and saw him standing at the door. A man in a tailored suit, his eyes scanning the menu as if he had walked into the wrong place. His presence was immediately commanding, even though he hadn't spoken a word. He looked out of place, like he didn't belong in the small-town diner, and Maya instinctively felt her heart race. The man didn't look like a regular customer. He approached the counter with a slight smirk, and Maya forced a polite smile. "Hi there, can I help you?" Yeah," he said, his voice calm and confident. "I'll take the special. And some coffee. Black, please." She nodded, writing it down. Coming right up. Maya moved to the kitchen, where she could hear the shuffling of orders and the clattering of pots. The diner's cook, an older man named Sam, was busy preparing the day's special, but Maya could feel a sense of unease in the air. Something about the man made her nervous. He didn't belong here. He was too polished, too refined, and Maya was well aware that her little diner wasn't a place for gourmet food or fine dining. Just as she set the coffee on the counter and returned to grab the special, disaster struck. The coffee machine, which had been on its last leg for weeks, sputtered and shut off completely. At the same time, the grill sputtered and the flames went out. A quick glance behind the counter revealed that Sam was dealing with a grease fire on the stovetop, and chaos erupted. Panic, clattering dishes, burning smell. "Sam, the fire's getting bigger," Maya yelled. She rushed to grab the extinguisher when the famous chef, Julian, stepped forward, surprisingly calm amidst the chaos. With one swift motion, he grabbed the fire extinguisher from her hand and extinguished the flames. The moment passed, but Maya couldn't ignore the stunned looks from the few remaining customers in the diner. The restaurant was saved by a man who had no reason to even be there. "Are you all right?" Julian asked, his voice calm but firm. Maya, still breathless, nodded, her heart pounding. "Yeah, it was a close call." He set the extinguisher back down and looked at her with a raised eyebrow. "You're doing well under pressure. You've got a good instinct for this." The words took Maya by surprise. She wasn't used to being noticed, especially not by someone like him. She had always assumed she was invisible to the world outside the diner, but here was this successful, well-known chef complimenting her. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Try not to let the awkwardness show." Julian smiled and took a seat. It's rare to see someone handle a situation like that so calmly. You've got potential more than just a waitress. You ever thought about working in the kitchen? Maya blinked, unsure if he was being sarcastic. "I don't think I'm qualified for something like that." He chuckled lightly. "I wasn't talking about a line cook position. I mean, working with me as an assistant. You've got quick instincts, and I need someone who can handle pressure. Why don't you come work with me in the city? We can start small." Maya's mind raced. Was this real? A job offer from a famous chef? A chance to leave the diner behind and build something entirely new? She looked at him, unsure of how to respond. Could this be the opportunity she'd been waiting for? The chance to finally break free from the life she had accepted for so long? Julian was still watching her intently, waiting for an answer. Maya stammered, "I've never done anything like that before. I mean, I don't know anything about fine dining or fancy kitchens." Julian gave her a reassuring smile. "You've got the core skills. I can teach you the rest. What do you say? It could be a chance for you to do something more than you've ever dreamed of." Maya's life, once defined by the steady hum of small-town routine, has shifted dramatically after Julian's offer. She found herself in the city, working alongside celebrity chefs and handling the intricacies of a high-end kitchen. At first, everything was new, intimidating. Even the staff was polished, the chefs were perfectionists, and every inch of the restaurant screamed luxury. But despite the initial excitement, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that she didn't belong in this world of prestige. The imposter syndrome hit her hard. She felt like she was pretending, that everyone around her could see right through her. The first few weeks were filled with self-doubt. Every time Julian gave her a task, she'd question herself. Am I qualified to do this? Do I deserve to be here? Her colleagues, most of whom had attended culinary schools and worked in some of the most prestigious restaurants, seemed to move with effortless confidence. They didn't understand how someone like her, a small-town waitress, could suddenly be thrust into their world. They didn't know how fragile Maya's self-esteem had been in the past, how she had lived her life thinking she wasn't meant for more than serving coffee and cleaning floors. But Julian believed in her. He had shown her patience, explaining the ins and outs of running a high-end kitchen, and gradually, Maya started to pick up on the technical aspects of the job. Still, her mind remained plagued with doubt. She didn't see herself as one of them. She was still the same girl from the diner, no matter how much Julian encouraged her. Then, just as Maya was beginning to find her footing, her past came knocking. One afternoon, as she was organizing inventory in the restaurant storeroom, Maya's phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. She almost ignored it, but something inside urged her to pick up. When she did, she was met with a voice she hadn't heard in years. Her mother. "Maya, it's Mom. We need to talk." Her heart skipped. It had been so long since they last spoke, and every memory of her family felt like a mixture of pain and regret. Maya had thought she had let go of the disappointment of being abandoned, but hearing her mother's voice, all those feelings rushed back. She forced herself to respond, trying to keep her emotions in check. "What's going on?" "We know about your new job," her mother continued, her tone neutral but laced with a hint of entitlement. "Now that you've got a real opportunity, it's time for you to come back to us. We've been thinking, maybe you could help us out. Your father has some financial problems, and the house needs repairs. You've got the money now, don't you?" Maya's stomach twisted. The last time she had seen them, they had made it clear she wasn't worth their time. But now that she was climbing the ladder of success, they were suddenly interested. They wanted to claim her again, not as a daughter, but as someone who could fix their problems. "I'm not sure what you're asking, Mom," Maya said, her voice cold. "I'm not coming back to Alabama. I'm working on my own life now." Her mother sighed. "It's just that we need you. You've always been the one to take care of things. You're in a position now where you can help us, Maya." Maya's mind raced. Could she really leave this new life she had built? The job with Julian, the opportunity to prove herself in a world she had never thought possible, was right in front of her. But her family, after years of neglecting her, now wanted her back. It felt like a trap, one that had been waiting for her to step into. "I'm not your safety net anymore," Maya finally said, her voice steady. "I've moved on. I'm happy where I am." But her mother was persistent. "Don't be dramatic, Maya. This is your family. You owe us." The words cut deep, and Maya felt the weight of years of abandonment crash down on her. She wanted to scream, to tell them everything she had been holding in for so long. But instead, she took a deep breath and ended the call. Her hands trembled as she placed the phone down. What was she supposed to do now? On one hand, the new life she had worked so hard to build was a dream come true, a chance to finally prove that she was more than the sum of her past mistakes. But on the other hand, her family's demand for her return and help loomed over her like an invisible anchor, threatening to pull her back into a life where she had never felt valued. As she walked through the restaurant, her mind conflicted. Maya couldn't help but feel torn. Could she leave her old life behind completely? Was this opportunity too big to let go of? Or was it time to reconcile with her family and return to the place she once called home? Maya's decision now felt bigger than her career. It was about finding her own identity, one that wasn't defined by the expectations of others. And in that moment, Maya realized the true question she had to answer: who was she really doing this for? Was it for her family, or was it for the woman she had become? The woman who was no longer willing to settle for being invisible. Maya made a decision that would change everything. She was staying. She chose to put her faith in Julian, in herself, and in the life she was carving out for herself in the city. She was no longer the waitress in a small-town diner. She was Clara, a woman with a new opportunity, a chance to reinvent herself. Maya accepted Julian's offer and joined his restaurant as his personal assistant. The transition was difficult and overwhelming. She was thrust into the glamorous world of celebrity chefs, high-end kitchens, and a level of pressure she had never experienced. The kitchen was chaotic, filled with talented professionals who were all striving for perfection, and Maya often felt like she was drowning in the high expectations placed on her. But what Maya didn't anticipate was the bullying that came with her new position. Many of the other kitchen staff, particularly the chefs, dismissed her. To them, Maya was just another outsider, a woman with no formal culinary training who had come from a world of waitressing, not cooking. They mocked her lack of experience, and sometimes even undermined her in front of others, making her feel like she didn't belong. "I don't know why you're here," one of the chefs, Sasha, whispered to her one afternoon while they were prepping ingredients. "You're just a waitress pretending to be a part of this world. Go back to where you belong." The words stung. Maya had spent years avoiding this kind of disrespect from her family, from her peers, but to hear it from people she barely knew made her feel like she was falling back into old patterns of being dismissed and ignored. But Maya didn't let it break her. Self-doubt gnawed at her every day, but she knew she had a choice. She could let these people's words define her, or she could rise above them. Each morning, she would show up early, make her own schedule, and get to work. Despite the isolation she felt, she started to use her natural instincts to improve the kitchen's workflow. Her organizational skills, honed from years of balancing multiple tasks in the diner, allowed her to anticipate needs before they were voiced. She began to suggest changes, not just in food prep but in staff coordination, and her ideas slowly started to catch on. Julian was the first to notice. He started pulling her aside, seeking her input in team meetings, something no one else had ever done before. "You're seeing things others miss," he said to her one evening. "You're not just organized, you've got a natural talent for this. Keep it up." His words gave her a much-needed boost, but the challenges never stopped. The tension in the kitchen remained, and Maya could feel the eyes of her colleagues on her every move. She was constantly worried that she wasn't good enough, that she was about to be exposed for the fraud she believed herself to be. And then, her past came rushing back. It was one late evening, after a particularly hard day of work, that Maya stumbled upon an old family photo, buried deep in her bag. It was a picture of her family, her mother, father, and two brothers taken the day before they had abandoned her. The photo felt like a weight in her chest, reminding her of the betrayal and rejection she had lived with for so long. The people who were supposed to support her, who were supposed to be her family, had left her behind without a second thought. Maya sat on the edge of a prep table, staring at the photograph. Tears filled her eyes, but she forced them back. Would she ever stop feeling hurt by them? As if reading her mind, Julian approached her. He'd been watching her from the kitchen doorway. "You okay?" he asked softly, a rare vulnerability in his voice. Maya didn't know why she suddenly felt the need to confide in him, but the pain of the past seemed too much to carry alone anymore. "I was abandoned, Julian. My family left me when I chose to stay here. They had all these expectations for me: college, a career, the right life. But I couldn't live that way. And now I've built a life, and I'm finally starting to feel good about myself. But every now and then, their absence, it's still It still hurts." There was a long pause, then Julian spoke. "You're not defined by them, Maya. You're defined by the choices you've made, and you've chosen to be strong. They can't take that from you." His words felt like a revelation. For the first time, Maya realized that the pain from her family's abandonment didn't need to hold her back. She could forgive them, not for their sake, but for her own peace of mind. She didn't need them to define her anymore. She was finally writing her own story. Maya took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past slowly begin to lift from her shoulders. She stood up from the prep table, a sense of determination in her heart. She wasn't just a waitress anymore. She was Maya, and she would define who she was. She had already come this far, and now, there was no turning back. Maya stood in front of a small building in the heart of the city, her very own restaurant. The doors were still locked, the sign waiting to be hung, but she could already see it all in her mind. This was more than just a place to eat. It was a reflection of her journey, of everything she had fought for. She smiled to herself, feeling the sense of pride swell inside her chest. This wasn't the life her family had wanted for her. It wasn't the life anyone expected, but it was hers. She had carved it out of nothing but her own determination. And now, it was about to come to life. The decision to open the restaurant had not come easily. There had been moments of doubt, moments where she questioned whether she was ready, or if it was too risky. But Julian's belief in her had never wavered. He has seen her potential long before she has seen it in herself. With his guidance, they had designed the restaurant to be a celebration of simplicity, focusing on heartfelt food, using fresh ingredients and honest flavors. The menu wasn't filled with complicated dishes or extravagant prices. It was food meant to nourish the soul, food that reminded people of home and family. But Maya had a deeper motivation behind the restaurant. She wanted to create a place where people of all backgrounds felt seen and valued, a place where hard work and passion mattered more than status. She had been underestimated for so long by her family, by the restaurant world. But now she was proving everyone wrong. The restaurant opened with a small gathering of friends, mostly people she had met through Julian, and the first reviews trickled in. They were positive, but it was the customers' reactions that mattered most. People who walked in for the first time left with smiles on their faces and hearts full, praising the warmth of the food and the care that went into every dish. Word spread quickly, and within months, Maya's restaurant had become one of the most talked about spots in the city. But even as the restaurant thrived, Maya's relationship with her family remained a lingering shadow. She had thought about them often, about the way they had abandoned her, about how she had spent years waiting for their approval. She realized that her resentment was holding her back, preventing her from moving forward. She had forgiven them in her heart, but she still needed closure. One afternoon, Maya received a call from her mother. Her heart skipped a beat as she answered, unsure of what to expect. "Maya," her mother began, sounding tired but sincere, "I've been thinking. I've been selfish, and I never really understood what you were doing all those years. I'm sorry for abandoning you, and for not believing in your dreams. I was wrong." Maya felt the tension in her chest begin to unwind. This wasn't the perfect apology. There was no excuse for what had happened. But it was enough for Maya to know that they had changed. "Thank you, Mom," Maya says softly, her voice steady. "I've forgiven you, and I want you to know that I'm doing well. I've learned that success isn't about getting their approval, it's about finding my own path. And I found it." Her mother was quiet for a moment before replying, "I've heard about your restaurant. I'm so proud of you, Maya." That was all Maya needed. She had forgiven her family, not for their sake, but for her own peace. She let go of the past, understanding that her future didn't have to be tied to the family who had once rejected her. Maya's restaurant continued to thrive. As she spent her days managing the restaurant, overseeing the kitchen, and mentoring her staff, she realized that the success she had gained wasn't just measured by the profits or recognition from others. It was measured by how fulfilled she felt. Self-worth and self-love had become her true currency. She had earned respect not just from the world but from herself. She no longer needed anyone's approval to define her worth. And then, one evening, as she walked through the kitchen, looking at her staff as they worked, Maya paused. She realized something. This was the dream she had fought for, and it was even better than she could have imagined. She had found her purpose, and now she was able to offer others the same opportunity to thrive, people who had been overlooked in the past, just like she had been. Maya had come full circle. She had started as invisible, but now she was seen, not just by others but by herself. Months had passed since Maya's restaurant had opened its doors, and the once small, uncertain woman had now become a force to be reckoned with in the culinary world. Her name was no longer whispered with skepticism, it was spoken with respect. She had gone from being a waitress with a dream to the head chef and entrepreneur of a thriving restaurant that was now celebrated for its authenticity and simplicity. Her restaurant, which celebrated heartfelt food, was exactly the kind of place she had always wanted to create. A place where everyone felt welcome, and where food was not about luxury or show but about genuine connection. Each dish she served told a story of her journey, of her values, and of the people who had helped her become who she was today. The pressure of running a business was no easier, but Maya now knew how to handle it. She had learned to rely not just on her instincts, but on the team she had carefully built. Julian's mentorship had given her the courage to step up, but her own growth has shown her that true leadership was not about commanding a room, it was about empowering those around you. She spent her days in the kitchen, overseeing every detail, but also finding time to mentor young chefs, teaching them not just about food, but about life, about perseverance, and about being true to oneself. She shared the lessons she had learned, the ones she had to learn the hard way, about overcoming self-doubt, facing adversity, and about how to stay grounded in the face of success. There was a particular intern, a young woman named Alicia, who had started at the restaurant as an assistant, but had the potential to go much further. She was shy, unsure of herself, and lacked confidence in her skills. Maya took Alicia under her wing, guiding her through the process of not only becoming a better chef, but also becoming more self-assured in her decisions. It was one of the most rewarding aspects of Maya's journey to see someone else rise as she had done. Maya had finally found her purpose. To cook, yes, but also to uplift others. Her restaurant wasn't just a place to eat. It was a place where people came together, where dreams were nourished along with the food, where everyone had the opportunity to grow. She found joy in helping others rise, and it wasn't about proving anyone wrong or showing that she had overcome the odds. It was about creating a space where talent was nurtured, where people were seen, and where their efforts were recognized. Family was no longer something Maya sought approval from. She had built a new family, not out of blood, but through the bond she had formed with the people around her. Her relationship with Julian had deepened into a true friendship, one where they both respected each other as equal partners in their shared love for food. Her staff, her mentors, and even her customers had become her new family, the people who had supported her when she had nothing, and who continue to support her now, not out of obligation, but out of respect and admiration. Her family from Alabama had not reappeared since that final phone call. Maya realized, in her heart, that she didn't need them to validate her worth. She had already built her life on her own terms. One evening, after a busy dinner service, Maya stood outside her restaurant, looking out at the bustling city. The streetlights bathed everything in a soft, golden glow, and the energy of the city felt like it mirrored the energy inside her. She felt a deep sense of peace, not because she had achieved everything she set out to do, but because she had finally come to accept herself and the path she had taken. She no longer sought approval or validation from anyone. She knew that true success was about much more than achievements or titles. It was about living a life that was authentic and fulfilling, about finding joy in the journey and not just the destination. As she turned to go back inside, she noticed Alicia walking out of the kitchen with a tray of freshly baked bread. Maya smiled at her, seeing the same nervousness in Alicia's eyes that she once had. But now, Alicia held her head a little higher, her confidence growing with each step. Maya nodded to her. "You're doing great, Alicia. Keep pushing forward." Alicia grinned, a little bashful. "Thanks, chef. I'm learning from the best." Maya paused, her heart swelling with pride. She wasn't just building a career anymore, she was building a legacy, one where the strength of her work wasn't measured by the food she cooked or the money she made, but by the lives she touched along the way.